Welcome, everyone, to the Squid and Ultimate Elite Fan Show. I'm Mike Wilson, the Ultimate Elite fan. Joining me, as always, my winger, Ricky Squid Vibe. Squid, Montreal's climbed some hills so far, but this looks like climbing Mount Everest in bare feet, if the other night was any indication.
I couldn't agree with you more, Mike, on that point. It wasn't even it got the 2-1, but then it was over very, very shortly after that. Tampa's a hell of a hockey team, and they have last change in 4 out of the 7 games, if it ever went 7 games.
Yeah.
And Cooper, he doesn't have his best guys out against Danault, and he's making them play against hard-working guys like Yanni Gourde and Coleman and those guys. And if that's the way it's going to be, Montreal, I don't see them really having a chance. And the power play, it's lethal.
Well, there were 2 different teams from what I saw the other night. One highly skilled, fast, physical, versus a pack of guys trying your other team out of the rink, but it didn't work.
No, it didn't. And, I think that's what a lot of people probably don't understand is that Tampa, although they're highly skilled and fast, they're also a very physical team. You got guys like Yanni Gourde and Little Johnson, and they're running around. They're hitting everything they can.
So, yeah.
As fast and as skilled as they are, they're also very, very they play a pretty physical hockey game. And look at their defense. I don't think they got a defenseman that's under 6'2". And they can all move. It's like, you're looking up and all you see is all these great big defensemen. Where the hell am I going to go?
Well, speaking of defensemen, Squid, have you ever played Monopoly?
I have.
Well, Shea Weber,
for quite a while.
Well, I was going to tell you, Shea Weber must be an exceptional player at this game because he sure knows how to use his $200. No, make that $5,000 get out of jail card with his second infraction. Now, there could have been a lot more from the other night. Come on. The best of that whole incident was not only did he Valerie Karlamov a la Bobby Clark Kucherov with that 2-hander. The ref almost had to step out of the way as Kucherov was sliding into the boards with no call. How long is the NHL going to allow this nonsense to go on?
Well, you know what? I'm all for, looking out for the players and making sure that stuff like that doesn't happen. I don't think he hit him quite as hard as everybody probably perceived that he did.
Yeah.
Kucherov sold that pretty goddamn.
Well, he did a little bit, but still, the intent was there.
He tried to. Come on. He went down like his knee was torn in half. And, it wasn't – I didn't think it was that hard of a slash.
Yeah, okay.
To be quite honest. That's my personal opinion from watching it. I thought he got him, decent, got him in the back of the leg, but Kucherov went down like he had just torn his ACL, for God's sakes.
Well, he does sell it a lot like that. And that wasn't the first one. So there was a spear in the first period. There's lots of stuff going on. And all I can tell you is the way it looked, from my view, was Tampa sure wanted to stick it to Montreal with that last meaningless power play goal to let those mutts know they'll bury them if they want to play like this. Another thing, here's another thought for you. Gallagher, everybody lauding his play for some reason. He was the guy who gave Kucherov that cheap shot spear at the beginning of the game with no call. But I'll tell you what, the response of Sergachev was the highlight, I thought. Here's a guy stepping up you don't expect to, and giving him the old body slam and giving it back to him and letting everybody know, you know what? You want to play like this, we'll play like this. And I'm sitting on that Tampa bench watching that. Boy, that gets my spirits flowing, as opposed to, say, Corey Perry taking a run at a Tampa player with 20 seconds left from the blue line. Like, what's that? What's the purpose of that nonsense?
Well, there is no purpose other than you're trying to send a message. Well, I don't know what message you're trying to send. Well, that Tampa should be that should be the message from Tampa to Montreal. Just play better, because they didn't play very well. But I think they were overmatched. I really do, Mike. Tampa's got the full package. They got everything. And again, like I said, the difference between their fourth and their first line, there isn't a huge gap there. Whereas you look at Montreal, there is. And several other teams in the league, there's a big gap. Tampa Bay's, they got 4 very good, skilled, fast, physical lines, and their defense are even more physical.
Well, and unlike Toronto, Winnipeg, or Las Vegas, they're not missing some key players to this whole, the whole entree players that they do have. So there's no spares playing. It's all the frontline guys are already enabled. So be prepared. So what do you expect tonight?
And don't forget that big 80, or is he 88? The goalie?
Oh, Jesus. Well, we can get into that. Yeah, Vasilevsky. Yeah.
Oh my God, this guy's unbelievable. The only goal they scored went off two of their players into the net. Other than that, he didn't even allow anything that was even close to going in.
So what do you expect tonight?
Well, again, I've counted Montreal out
I know.
all playoffs, but I think the Tampa Bay Lightning are a different animal, and John Cooper's a heck of a coach and a smart guy, and he's going to continue playing Gord against Danault so that he can't stop, shut down Kucherov and Point and those guys. And if that happens, then and if they don't stay out of the box, it's over, because the power play is running at 40-some% in the playoffs. That's ludicrous, really. A number like that in the playoffs is one that I don't think has been like that for a very, very long time.
Well, as far as Montreal goes, the old line, "You dance with the girl who brung you," is probably their mantra for tonight. They've been in this position before. They lost 4-1. They were down 4-1 to Vegas after the first opener. They got smoked by Toronto down 3-1. So all that stuff we can go on and on about. But they continue to play physical. Price continues to keep it close and hope for a break or a turnover, whereas Tampa will be aware they're going to accelerate the physicality of the game, coming in desperation to try and get a split going home. So they'll just play their game and make them pay on the power plays you just mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all Tampa needs to do, really, is just, use their skill and their speed and their physical play. Let Montreal retaliate, take penalties, they'll score in the power play, and then, it's game over. It's a pretty simple formula. If you're the Tampa Bay Lightning, you go out, you play your game, let them take the penalties, and then score on the power play.
Yeah, so we'll see how that plays out tonight. We got the formula set. So now there's been a little bit of a movement in the free agent signing, Squid. It may be a little bit of an indication of how players are going to be treated and what they're going to be looking for, because a couple of deals so far have shown less money, more term. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins takes a haircut in Edmonton, a nice one, but gets a whopping 8-year term out of the Oilers. And, he's a guy I looked at only when he plays Toronto, so honestly, I can't give a real good opinion. But whenever I watch him play against the Leafs, he just seems very ordinary, slightly above average to me. And he got that number. And you got Wayne Simmons, who gets $900 for 2 years, less than $1.50 he made last year. Less, but he got the term. And let's face it, the Leafs have no issue playing him at $900 if it doesn't work with the Marlies. They can leave him exposed in the expansion draft. So, to me, that's probably not a bad move overall. But can we expect more of this looking forward? It sure seems to be that way.
I think we can look at not only just in the immediate future, Mike. I think down the road, I think you're going to see players take deals more like Nugent-Hopkins took. Less money, more term, and he also has a no trade, no movement clause. Mm-hmm. So can't go to the minors, can't get traded, nothing unless he agrees to it. So I see this kind of happening in the future in the National Hockey League, because guys are still going to make their 70 or 80 or $100 million, but they got a better chance to win if they do that.
Now, going one step further here, watching Price and Vasilevsky in the playoffs, as we both touched on, both those two guys are pretty evenly matched. Even watching the Final Four, boy, the Leafs coming back to them, stepping up from free agency. There's been a little bit of a twist today. Now, Jack Campbell's good. Everything you want in a player, great in the room, accountable, loves his role, loved by his teammates. But can he elevate his game to this level that we're seeing performed right now by these guys? Do you risk that going into the season? So there's been a little twist now today because there's a story out there that Freddie Anderson, who they thought would be looking for an excess of his salary of $5 million, may take a cut and come back to Toronto, or he's willing to work out a deal. They didn't say take a cut, but that's obviously what the information or the inference is that he will do that. So maybe that changes the landscape a bit.
Yeah, if Freddie's willing to take a little bit of a haircut on his $5 million, like 3.8 or something like that for 1 year maybe, and then if he has an outstanding year, then he'll get rewarded with a bigger contract. I think that works for both people, both for him and for the Maple Leafs, because now you got him and Campbell, you got two reliable goaltenders, and but you still don't have a Vasilevsky or a Price, and
or Curry, or
in order to win a Stanley Cup, Mike, you need to have a guy like that, or Marc-Andre Fleury in his prime, and that sort of thing. And they don't have that. But again, you don't get those guys. You have to draft them, just like you do the Hedmans and the guys like that. The stud superstar defensemen. You don't get them in free agency or in a trade. You have to draft those guys and develop them.
No, you're 100% right. And so that maybe opens the door up a little bit if they went that route with Freddie coming back on a smaller ticket. Joseph Voll would have to get some games in because there's your drafted player that you're moving up through the ranks. Mm-hmm. And this issue becomes more contentious with the list of UFAs who aren't exactly jumping off the page. Most of them are past their prime. And worse, they all make more than Campbell. So it's become, as we've touched on this a few times over this, it's become abundantly clear, even more so now after watching the finals, and there's no surprise to us, their number one priority has got to be a goalie.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think they have to look at the draft. If you look at the Montreal Canadiens, they took Carey Price with what? I think it was like the fifth or sixth pick overall, which everybody at the time was going, like, are you crazy taking a goalie at that high? Well, they may have to look at that, and they may have to find out, who is the best goalie available in the draft, and maybe have to move down or make a deal and move down so that they can, grab a guy who's a no-brainer superstar of the future.
But the problem is, though, Squid, they haven't got the time to wait. I mean, I know fans don't want to listen to this and hear this, but the wrong move this offseason could push the team back further from advancing than they were at the start of this season, never mind moving forward. And that's a very fine line you're dealing with. Whatever move they make, I'm sure glad I'm not making that decision.
No, I'm glad I'm not either.
And I would say if the two guys at the top are being honest, they're not quite sure either at this point.
Yeah, you know what? I wonder. I mean, because I mean, the predicament that they find themselves in right now, I'm not 100% sure that they know exactly which direction they're going to go in and what they're going to do. Because, I mean, boy, I'll tell you, there's a lot of work to do before next season. A ton.
Yeah, there sure is. Well, that's all the time we have for today, folks. Monday, we'll get into some of the unrestricted free agents, along with the couple games that we played in the meantime. But fans, we must remain positive. And in the words of Tony Robbins, remember this. Oh. Here we go. Here's today's
Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins. I'm being correct. Come on, guys. Just want to see if you guys are paying attention. Setting goals is the first step in turning invisible into the visible. Yes. Home run. Okay, that's now. As we always say, words are very easy to say. It's putting it into action that really counts. So we'll see how this all really plays out. Anyway, everyone, thanks for listening. Don't forget to tune in to our Squid and Ultimately Fan podcast. Drops Fridays at 6 p.m. Available on all your podcast networks. Doug McLean joins this week. He's got some great stories, great insights. He's worth a listen for sure. As you all know what he's like, and he's never afraid to speak his mind. Enjoy the next couple games, everyone. See you Monday, same time, same place.